Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Before we get into today's main topic, I want to update a couple of things that I was talking about yesterday. Most importantly would be the UAP Disclosure Act. Apparently, it's not off the table yet. Now, there was something that happened yesterday evening. Christopher Sharp, who wrote the article reporting this a few days back about that the UAP Disclosure Act was pulled from the National Defense Authorization Act for 2025, and apparently that Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky had something to do with it. Now he found out he updated the article yesterday, and he had received a response from Senator Paul's office, and this is what it states. Here was this update that was included in his article that he included in last night's version. It says, after initially declining to comment on the record via email, a staffer from Senator Rand Paul's office has now told Liberation Times through phone call that the senator cleared the UAP Disclosure Act to be included within the manager's package. In a separate phone transcript obtained by Liberation Times, a staff member states, Senator Paul cleared that amendment, so any delay was not due to his actions. So it wasn't Rand Paul's fault. However, we do know whose fault it was, apparently. According to Matt Ford of the Good Trouble Show, he posted on his Twitter X feed today that it was Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. It says here, here's a posting from the Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford. It says it was Mitch McConnell who blocked the inclusion of the UAP Disclosure Act in the manager's package for the National Defense Authorization Act. And it also goes on to say, says, let's see what magic Senators Rounds and Schumer can muster to get this through in other ways. And what he's talking about here, it looks like there are still efforts. It's not completely dead yet. There is an effort, apparently, to have this included on the National Defense Authorization Act. From reporting from Ask a Poll, Matt Laszlo, his website, Ask a Poll. I'll leave links for all this so you can check it out for yourself. He said, according to him, Senator Mike Rounds says negotiations continue on Chuck Schumer's UAP Disclosure Act in the National Defense Authorization Act. So it's not over yet. And here was a couple of quotes from this little piece of an article that's on here. It says, Mike Rounds told Matt Laszlo that the NDA is not out yet. We're hearing it, and Matt Laszlo said, we're hearing it's being gutted again. Well, we'll see, Rounds said. And then also he stated, let me put it this way, it's not out yet. Rounds tells us of this year's NDAA. Negotiations continue. So we may have been jumped the gun there yesterday. So perhaps it's not dead. Perhaps the news isn't as dire as we thought it was. So it's not over yet. But also it needs to be made clear that it wasn't Senator Rand Paul, apparently, who did this. According to Matt Ford of the Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford, it was Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell who had that yanked from the NDAA. We'll see what the full story is as time goes on, and hopefully, maybe it's not dead. Maybe it's not done. It's surprising. That was a surprising article yesterday. When I didn't read that. I missed that article a few days back when it originally was posted, and it was very surprising to learn that this thing was dead. But now looks like maybe there's still a chance for it to be included. So we still have a chance for that. And there's something else I want to update as well. Of course, there was another thing I was talking about yesterday was that image that was released to the via Freedom of Information Act in Canada, and it was reported on in an article this week by Canada TV News. And the article, I talked about that image. The image released a mysterious object shot down over Yukon in 2023. And somebody pointed, Think Tank, the user Think Tank on Twitter X contacted me today. And, this is the image here that I was posting. It looks like a sea. Like I was talking about that. It looks like a sea that they captured. And he sent me a message a private message on Twitter. And he says, Jim, this is the object in the Yukon shootdown. It's in the same image as the sea. I think the sea is part of the camera or something else. This is a deceiving trick they're playing on us. So I don't know what he's saying here. If you look at the picture, I have the picture on the screen right now. You see the sea here, but he has a box. Think Tank has a box around this other object. It looks like a flying object. Maybe that is the cylinder that they're talking about. I mean, we were all focused on this sea. He's saying that he thinks that that could be something with the camera. We really don't know, but I just wanted to point this out. And here he has a close up of it. You can see what this object, what they might have been wanting us to. Maybe this is what they're talking about. I mean, I don't know. There was no explanation along with the photo. When you first look at it, all you basically see is that backward sea. You don't really notice this thing here, which is tiny. I mean, I for all I know, it could be just a camera anomaly, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's the object that they were seeing. Maybe that's the object that was shot down. We really don't know. But I did want to update that. I thought it was important. Okay, now moving on to the main topic today. I wonder, I've been thinking about this, over a lot of things you've been thinking about over the last few months. Especially after you see the ultimate evidence, the ultimate proof that shows that we're not alone, as I've been talking about on this show ad nauseum since early April. Now that you see that this opens the door to a lot of other things in my view, and I started asking myself questions like maybe all these poltergeist reports over the years, haunted houses and whatnot. Maybe what's responsible for this is NHI / extraterrestrial. Maybe that's what's behind all of this, because now we know that's true, right? We know that's true. We know that there's some sort of non-human intelligent presence here, whether they're from another world, another dimension, or crypto, or from underneath the sea or underneath the earth or whatever. We know that there's something here now, right? There's no question about it, and so it makes me wonder about some of these poltergeist activities that we hear about. Especially when you think about this, a lot of times how many stories have I talked about on this channel since I started it over 3 years ago? There's so many different cases where somebody experiences a UFO or NHI or both, right? And then afterward, they start having poltergeist activity. Just recently, I was talking about that case from 1966 where two teenage girls were walking home. They see a UFO. They see these creatures that look like living tree stumps running across a road. And then after this incident, the one girl keeps they're having poltergeist activity in their house. You look at the Las Vegas case, that family actually did move out. The Kenmore family moved out. They came to the conclusion that what they experienced wasn't extraterrestrial or NHI. They came to the conclusion that it was demonic because after it was over, they were having poltergeist experiences. This is something that happened to the Sherman family in Skinwalker Ranch back in the 1990s. In addition to seeing strange cryptid creatures and UFOs, right? They experienced poltergeist activity. It's just something that seems to go along hand in hand with these cases sometimes. So you have to ask yourself questions like, what if it's not spirits from hell or heaven or purgatory or anything like that? What if it's actually extraterrestrials up to something, playing a game, doing an experiment, something to that effect? And I'm going to start off with this discussion talking about. There was you probably heard of this case before, the specter of Newby Church. And this was something that happened in 1963 at the Church of Christ the Consoler on the Newby Hall grounds in North Yorkshire in the United Kingdom. And there was the pastor of this church was taking pictures inside the church, and then when he developed the pictures, the picture of the altar that he took, there was this 9-foot figure standing there, this horrific-looking creature. A lot of people thought it was a ghost of a monk or something like that. And I looked at this picture about 10 years ago, and I studied that image because I was fascinated with some of these older pictures of ghosts, alleged pictures of ghosts that people have taken over the years. And this was one of them. This was one, by the way, which was never debunked. A lot of people back in the day thought it had to be fake, right? And the priest is like, no, it's not fake. I took the picture. I didn't see anything when I took the picture, but this is how it came out, right? When the picture came out, that's what it looked like. So he's taking pictures of the altar, and and then when he has the film developed, this is what he sees, this thing here. And so whatever it was, it must have been pretty tall. They estimate that it would have been 9 feet tall, if it is in fact real. But there's a lot of interesting aspects to this image, and I'm going to talk about that. And this possibly, I mean, just not saying this might not be true, right? This could be, maybe it is a hoax. I don't know, right? Nobody ever figured it out yet. Some people will tell you they think it's a hoax. It could have been a double exposure, could have been done that way. But this priest insisted that he didn't hoax anything. So I don't think that's what it is. Anyway, when you look at this picture, you see that it's a 9-foot tall kind of being here. It looks like it's standing on the second step, and at the top of its head ends at near the top of the altar, and they estimated that it would have been 9 feet tall. Now, a lot of people thought that this was some sort of a Grim Reaper kind of thing, or maybe a ghost of a monk from the 16th century or something. And all the descriptions say, yeah, it had some kind of a shroud on its face. But when you look at the image more closely, it's not a shroud, and we'll talk about that. Here we go. I want to look at this first. I just have it isolated. Okay, you can see this image here. If you look at the face area, a lot of people thought that this was a shroud in front of his face, but a closer examination shows that it's not. To me, right, what I'm seeing here, it looks like there are hands lifted up to its face, like skeletal-like hands lifted up to this face, and it's trying to like it was surprised, like it was caught off guard. I mean, and look at the eyes. At first blush, you think this is a ghost, but really, what if it's something else? What if it's an extraterrestrial using cloaking technology and just happened to be inside the church at the time, up to who knows what, and then the priest comes in just to take pictures when no one's there, and then he takes a picture of this, and it surprises it, and it holds its hands up in surprise because it can't believe that it just because he didn't know what the priest was doing, pointing this object at him, and he snapped a picture of it. But that's possible. I mean, when you think about what happened in Vegas, and when you look at those images in Vegas, is that what this is? And let me go to another image here, a closer shot. Yeah, if you look closely, these could be like it's holding up its arms potentially up to its face, and has the big black eyes. Like initially you would think, okay, this is a skeletal kind of ghost, with a hood on, kind of, like a monk or something. But then maybe not. Maybe it's similar to an extraterrestrial with the big eyes. And then here's another image where I zoomed in at the mouth, and if you look closely in between the hands, you see like a mouth, like in a grimace, in a down-turning mouth. So I mean that's possible. I mean, I guess that's something to think about. I don't know. I mean, I think everything's on the table now when you really think about it. Maybe this is what's responsible for people who claim to have haunted houses, and there's a lot of people. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this, but you read the stories, you see documentaries on TV. There's a lot of people out there. They seem very believable. You look at something like the Amityville horror, for instance. That in that case, a lot of people will say that it's a hoax. But they don't really have, that's never really been proven to be a hoax. There's a lot of different accusations all over the place when it comes to that case, but, that was something that happened in 1975 and into 1976. We'll get into that in a second. But anyway, just getting back to this image here, look at this thing. Why would a priest, and how would a priest be able to pull something like this off? Why would somebody do that? Look at this. For 1963, this is some pretty gruesome mask or something. If that's what it was somebody posing there in some sort of a costume. That's pretty intense. I would have to say. For a priest to be involved in this, and he was very unhappy when he got accused of perpetrating a hoax. So you have to wonder. I wonder about some of these things now. Anyway, here's an article from ghostwatch.net. It says here, in 1963, Reverend Kenneth F. Lord was taking pictures of the church's interior. He took a picture of the church altar, of which he was particularly fond of. However, after the picture had developed, a semi-transparent figure was visible. The creature was semi-transparent. It was standing on the first step to the altar, but still towered higher than the altar. It was completely cloaked in a black robe that covered where its feet supposedly were. There was no suggestion of any hands, and the face was covered in a white sheet with two depressions where the eyes would be on a face, and the hood covering its head had a delicate pattern on its edges. In relation to the altar one, can decide that this specter was at least 9 feet tall. The figure was looking directly at the camera. Reverend Lord himself was confused by this. He was completely alone in the church at the time, and the church had absolutely no history of paranormal activity. Once he made the picture public, it was almost immediately scrutinized by skeptics. It certainly did not look too good. The creature was looking directly at the camera. The building was not haunted, and the creature was conveniently completely cloaked. Skeptics believed the photo was a hoax produced by means of double exposure. The idea of the photo being a fake itself came under attack. Lord felt annoyed by this, especially since he was an honest reverend. The ghost was also 9 feet tall, and from this arose some trouble in finding out how Lord would have made his image so large. The picture was eventually sent away to be examined, and scientists of the period believed that the photo had not been tampered with whatsoever and was assumed genuine. This made the photo one of the most famous ghost pictures in the world, both because of its perfection and the fact that it is allegedly genuine. The specter has since not been seen at all, and had not been seen before the photo had been taken either. This raises more mystery as to what the specter was and why it has never appeared, save that one photo. Because of its dress, many people believe that the creature was the ghost of a monk. But the interesting thing about this is that in just about every single report that you read on this, they don't talk. Everyone who looks at this picture over the years assumed that what you're seeing here is some kind of a shroud on its face. But again, a closer examination reveals a different issue, a different story here, and that's what I want to talk about. I mean, if you look at the other images here, it looks like it's holding its arms up, and this is what you're seeing. You're seeing hands covering a face, perhaps, and that's what I wonder about when it comes to this picture. Had it been a hoax, you'd think the priest himself, Lord, would have pointed this out, but no, he didn't. He just said this was he was confused by it. He didn't understand it. He didn't understand what happened here, and he said he didn't fake it. So, and then he never pointed out the fact that it wasn't a shroud over its face. But as you can clearly see when you look at this picture more closely, it's not a shroud. This thing, whatever it was holding hands up to its face. Now, we have heard stories too, keep in mind, of alien beings, and people have alien encounters where some of them are wearing robes or cloaks or capes. I mean, is that what's happened here possibly? I mean, it could be. It could be. And as we know, these creatures have the ability to make themselves invisible. I mean, most famously, when you think about the creature in the Vegas video, the one that shows its face above the fence, it's semi-transparent, just like this thing here. So you have to wonder, maybe this is not a ghost like a lot of people believe. I mean, it could be a hoax. I'm not saying it's not. There's not a lot of, all we have is this one person who took the picture and it was developed. We don't know much more about it than that. But if it's not a hoax, then maybe it's not a ghost. Maybe what we're dealing with here has nothing to do with spirits from other worlds, like a lot of people believe, demons from hell and all that kind of thing. Or maybe what's going on here is we're dealing with, extraterrestrials, and we get confused. We don't know what else to think. I mean, the first thing I thought when I saw this, and I thought about it for years. The thing that I was thinking about was, oh my God, this looks like it's something, a Grim Reaper or a tortured soul in hell, or all these kind of different ideas. But maybe that's not the case. Maybe what it is was an alien that was inside the church checking it out, and then got surprised when the priest just happened to come traipsing in, and then whipped up his camera and snapped a shot, and the thing held up its hands in surprise by getting its picture taken. That's what I think is possible with this. That's just another theory. See, this is the whole thing. Now that we have the proof, right? Now that we have the evidence that there is some sort of presence among us, we have to look at some of this other stuff from the past and maybe connect some dots here. I mean, that's what this could be. It could have been something like I've been talking about. These things could be among us right now. It could be in your house. Could be when you're walking down the street. There could be one, hanging off in the bush somewhere, and you just don't see it because they have these abilities. But the camera picked it up. And you think about the one in Vegas, the one over the face over the fence. They didn't see it at that time. They didn't see that image. They didn't know that thing was there until they reviewed the video later on. But you think about stuff like the the Amityville horror. Now, a lot of people, there's, George. Okay, this is what happened basically in late 1974, November of 1974. Ronnie DeFeo Jr. killed his entire family. Killed his mother, his father, his two younger brothers, and his two younger sisters. And he was arrested, and he was in prison. He died in prison. Actually, he died a few years ago. But about 13 months after that happened, the Lutz family, because the house was so reasonably priced, they moved in there. George and Kathy Lutz had just got recently married. She already had 3 kids from a previous marriage, Danny, Missy, and Christopher, and plus they had a dog. And they actually all changed. He had George Lutz insisted that the kids get their names changed to his last name. But anyway, they moved in there about 13 months after that incident happened. They knew about it. They knew that this thing happened. And 28 days later, after moving in, they fled the house. They were saying there was all kinds of stuff going on in that house. Is it possible that it wasn't some demons from hell? Is it possible that it might have been some sort of alien intelligence up to playing tricks, up to some kind of an experiment? I mean, they would know. I mean, you would have to imagine that they would know all the things that we think of, all the things that we fear. They would know about our religion, right? They would know how to toy with us because of that knowledge. And you have to wonder if that's what the case was there. I mean, there was a lot of strange things that happened there. The people that call it a hoax, the Amityville horror. I mean, the thing about it is, those Kathy and George Lutz, who they both passed away. They're only in their 50s too. They weren't that old when they died, and they died, and they went to their graves, and they never changed their story. They always said that this is what really happened. One of the kids, Danny Lutz, probably about 10 years ago or so, was in a documentary called My Amityville Horror. He talked about his experiences there. He was all grown up now, of course, and he talked about how he disliked his father a lot, didn't like him at all. But he confirmed this stuff that was a lot of the things that you read in that book. This is the book right here, The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. This was released in 1977. A couple of years. They moved in December of 1975, and then fled in January of 1976. But it was all put down on paper. The book was a bestseller, turned into movies. People are still making movies and documentaries about the Amityville situation. It's the most well-known haunted house case in history. But maybe it had nothing to do with demonic possession or ghosts or anything like that from the family that was killed there. Maybe it had something to do with something else. I mean, we have to think. I would have to imagine that we need to start thinking this way, because that's possible. That is very possible. Anything's possible now. Knowing what we know now, knowing what we've seen on video from that Las Vegas incident from last year, we've seen the evidence. So anything's possible, and they experienced all kinds of weird things. I mean, the little girl at the time, she was like 45 years old when she moved in, Missy. She had an imaginary friend named Jody. It looked like a pig sometimes. It could make itself look like really small or as big as a house. There was so many different strange things that happened. Danny Lutz, when in that documentary that he was part of, My Amityville Horror, he talked about killing all these flies and going to tell his mom about it, and then coming back and the flies were gone. They were just gone. There was a priest that went into the house, heard voice tell him to get out, and he became extremely ill. There was so many different strange things that happened. Things went missing. Poltergeist activity, very similar to what you hear in some of these UFO cases, very similar to what you hear in the Skinwalker Ranch case, and what you hear in the Vegas case after the fact, right? After they have their UFO experience, all of a sudden they're having these poltergeist activities. Is it something to do with this alien intelligence, and not something to do with some demons from hell? They're playing again. Not that it's good, not good for us from our point of view, right? But they're up to something, possibly. I think these kind of things are we need to think about these things now. I think that's where we are. I believe it's possible that some of these hauntings have nothing to do with spirits or devils or demons. I think it could be. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying there's other possibilities we need to think about. Some alien intelligence that's responsible. I think it's very possible. I mean, we now know that there's something here. We know for a fact. We have that evidence. We can see what they do. And you look back at images like that, the Newby Church ghost, and you see maybe that's not a ghost at all. Maybe that's some sort of an alien being using cloaking technology that was, who knows, examining the architecture inside that church and got caught off guard when the priest comes traipsing in with a camera and snaps its picture, holds its hands up in surprise, right? Didn't realize, maybe for some reason, they have the ability to make themselves, invisible to the human eyes in some way, but not the cameras and others, and vice versa. I mean, who knows what kind of technology these things have? Or maybe it's some sort of a trick. Maybe it's an experiment. All of these things, like something like this. Maybe, well, hey, we're going to play a trick, on this priest when he comes in. I'm going to stand here and let him take my picture. He won't see me when I take the picture, but when he develops it, he will. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, it's, to me, right, when you really look at it, it's no different than something like the Kentucky Goblin Spree from 1955, when you have like 9 or 10 people, besieged one night after seeing a UFO. One of them sees a UFO. Next thing you know, there's these little goblin creatures running around. They're shooting them, but they're not dying. It sounds like when they shot them, it sounded like they're hitting a metal pail, and then they just disappear. And then the authorities eventually show up. They believe them because all these people are terrified, but there's no evidence, though. It's all gone. There's some sort of it's almost like a cosmic trick. Like they talk about the cosmic tricksters, like they could be playing games with us sometimes, because we're probably so easy. Probably so easy to fool. I mean, we would be from there. If you're extremely advanced, right? It would be so simple to fool us, to fool people like us. We're superstitious idiots a lot of times. That's what we are. We really are when you really think about it. And it would be so simple to trick us. And so I think it's just something to think about. Again, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I mean, for all I know, this could, regarding for any of these things, I think that the Amityville horror situation, I think that family experienced something. Whether it was some sort of evil spirits, I don't know. Could have been alien, though. It could have been an alien intelligence. It's possible. And as well as some of these other cases, a lot of times, people experience weird stuff, invisible things in their house, things opening up by themselves and closing. That's, now that we know those beings have the ability to make themselves invisible, that they could be the culprit. They could be the culprits behind it all. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.